Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast. What's up, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Rob, and I'm Creeping It Real. We got a very special guest this evening.
Super special guest
And
from New York.
all the way from New York, guy.
Is it that part of New York? Is White Plains like?
Nah.
No.
So
It's
tonight,
all New York.
yeah, we're gonna be talking to Adam G from Reptile Finder from Komodo Reptiles. How you doing tonight, man?
Yo, what's going on, fellas?
What's
I
up?
am pumped to
How
fucking
are
have
you
you
guys?
on, man. I'm excited.
Thank you. This is awesome. I'm glad I could be on with you guys.
Hell to the yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
So, starting out, because I want to know, were you into reptiles as a kid, or was this like something you got into a little bit later? Were you
Oh
like,
no, this is day one, just
Day
like
one? Hell
all you
yeah.
guys.
hell yeah.
I think as far back as I can remember, I think I was like 3 or 4 years old. I had my parents. They got me one of those reptile birthday parties, you know.
Fuck yeah.
And I can remember it clear as day to this day. A big Eastern king. Just like crawling through my shirt, and I thought it was like the most amazing thing in the world.
Hell
like-
yeah.
And that was it. It was downhill from there.
Dude,
you know,
my
I was,
dad
like I said,
is...
probably like 4 years old, and then I would say in elementary school I started like keeping stuff very, lightly, just get a little baby reddier from Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
Or, one of the aquatic African claw frogs from the local pet store. And, hermit crabs. And I think I eventually I think my first ever White Plains show, I picked up a green anole, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
And then probably by, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, that's when I got my first corn snake. And then I wanted another corn snake, and it happened to be a pair. So by the time I was 12, I was an official corn snake breeder.
Woo! Damn.
And fun fact, from that first year producing a clutch of corns, I have never gone 1 year without producing reptiles.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is wild.
So
That's
it's been a long
wild.
time.
That's pretty awesome, dude.
And to this day, I love corn snakes still.
Hell yeah, dude.
Hell to the yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Rob's finally excited about corn snakes for
I'm
once.
just now learning to appreciate corn snakes, because for a long time I was just a diehard python guy, and I was like, corn
Sure.
snakes, get them out of here. I don't want to look at them.
Oh man, they got so many positive qualities about them. Like, a lot of people recommend balls as first snakes and whatnot, but I always go for a corn. They're like super interactive and mellow and easy to keep and easy to breed. Really awesome species.
I've definitely made that shift at our store, because usually ball pythons are like kind of what we push as if people want to
Sure,
get their first
exactly.
snake as a ball python. But honestly, if I get people who are like, not, so set in, I just want it to sit there and play dead, I usually try and push them for a corn snake, because if they can handle something that moves around a little bit, I'm like, you're going to enjoy the corn snake way more. It'll climb in the enclosure. You'll see it more
Absolutely.
often. It's not going to like go off feed for you. It's just like such a good all-around snake. And you can, they're
Absolutely.
bomb-proof. Once they get, over a foot, they're bomb-proof. Like, you cannot, it's really hard to kill
I was
them.
going to say, I mean, they can take pretty extreme heat, and they can take extreme cold.
Yep.
They'll eat anything, and at the same time, you can create an awesome, now that it's popular, I'll use the term bioactive. You could go crazy with an enclosure, and they would use every square inch of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that
For
about
sure.
them.
Hell
Definitely.
yeah. We were just kind of ragging on bioactive, just the popularity of bioactive, because everybody's been like, it's this new craze, and it's like,
Right.
no, dude, living vivariums have been around for a very long time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just now
Absolutely.
getting mainstream.
yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, I've always personally kind of played on the fence between going, say racks versus bioactive. I think both have their place.
Mm-hmm.
I think bioactive presents a lot more challenges if you're going for the breeding aspect of it.
Yep.
But to me, that's the fun part, is getting over those new hurdles, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a few species where, you know, I've done them in a rack and all is gravy, and then just to take it that next notch, now go, you know, as natural as you want to call it, and figure out the different quirks from that end, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
For example, I learned the hard way that you can actually have too many isopods in your dirt.
Yes.
I lost for probably I've been breeding Gastrophilus for like almost 7 years now, and for the first 2 years I was losing all my eggs to isopods.
Oh, damn.
Oh, damn.
And I was blaming like the adults on eating their eggs, until finally I discovered a clutch that was just inundated with isopods, and there was like little they made like Swiss cheese out of the eggshells.
Oh, that sucks.
So finally, once I put 2 and 2 together, I realized, yeah, you can have too many dwarf white isopods. Supposedly, frog guys have known this already because they eat frog eggs too, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
Sheesh, when bioactive goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Dude,
but
that's how you shut the bioactive bitches down. Buy this extra cup of isopods and watch what happens.
No, it is cool to see people getting into that aspect of it, though, because I think it does give you a greater appreciation of the actual species.
For sure, yeah. And actually, like, really trying to recreate the aspect of the wild. You know, especially as like a conversational piece. Like if you have your animals like in your living room or somewhere where, you know, if you're having friends over, they come in and see it and they're like, "Oh, dude, like that looks dope."
Like
and you're
slice
like, "Yeah,
of the jungle right in my living room."
Exactly. You're like, "Yeah, dude, like this animal comes from so and so, and like their habitat's actually vanishing, but you know, I'm doing my best to recreate that."
Here's a little piece of it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's no question that in a more naturalistic setup, you'll see behaviors that you just can't observe in a sterile system or whatever you want to call a basic setup.
100%.
There's just behaviors you just won't see, which are unique to certain species, you know?
For sure. Yeah, you add all those elements in there and it unlocks quite a bit.
Exactly. Like, again, with the gastros, people were keeping them pretty basic just to get them off the ground at first when I first acquired mine from Europe. And I went full bioactive, if you want to call it, right off the rip.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I was like, I would see the female like blow up, definitely gravid, acting all the right ways. And then I was like never finding eggs. And this was like, my female cycles year round. So this was like the first summer I had them. She was cycling and laying. I couldn't find them. And most people were used to them laying off the ground in tubes or what have you, gluing their eggs like geckos.
Mm-hmm.
And because I happened to be keeping them a little too hot, evidently, she was actually going to the ground and laying them in a small burrow, like a monitor almost or something.
Oh, wow.
And you know, that's not something you would have seen if you had them in an empty cage with a nest box, you know, and that's that.
Right,
you know?
right.
Because now I've seen, all right, let me lower the temperatures, because that doesn't make sense. She's really finding a cool spot, and sure enough, she'll pick now based on humidity and temperature rather than just avoiding heat. So she'll find a cork tube in this corner 1 month, under this pothos plant root ball another month, just based on whatever conditions are right, you know. And again, if you had, you know, a sterile type setup using a small nest box, you know, similar to how people may do leopard geckos or something, you're only seeing that one pattern. You know, you're not really getting perspective for the whole picture.
Very true. That's super interesting.
That is very interesting. So you don't work with just those guys. You work with like a huge variety of different species.
In particular, ball pythons, right?
Yeah.
I'll say I'm a glutton for punishment. I keep a little bit of too much variety at times.
Same,
but,
bro.
You know, just like you guys, like we like it all, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really like, my non-reptile friends and family, they may say like, oh, what's your favorite? Like, I literally could not pick a favorite. There's stuff that I enjoy certain aspects of more than others, but there's no way I can say like, oh, I don't like this one at all. That's just not a thing. But yeah, I keep a lot of different stuff. All the lizards at the moment, I do, as we're talking about, bioactive. For the most part, the snakes, all the different snakes I have racked. There's also some I do just loose tubs because they don't need additional heat, like some of the Asian rats and and stuff like that. I just recently got a green rat, a Centacollis, that I don't put additional heat on. Some of like the South American tropical colubrids, those I don't do.
Are you talking Cyphlophus right now?
Cyphlophus, we are talking.
Yes.
All right, so those. All right, so I'm going to contradict myself a little here. I just said I really don't have a favorite, but those are towards the top of the list.
They're so goddamn cool. If you don't know what we're talking about right now, go Google it. Cyphlophus compressus.
That's right.
It's like what I don't know what the common name is, like a compressed red banded snake or something.
I think it's like flat snake or something, which is like ridiculous. But yeah, Cyphlophus compressus. Check it out if you don't know what it is.
Oh my! Be prepared to have your socks blown off because it is one of the coolest looking snakes on the planet. Like
oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you, they are hardy as hell.
That's awesome.
I would love to get them established eventually, but unfortunately, I've only ever had females come in. But man, they would be a great staple for the industry because, as you see, they are so attractive. They are hardy as hell. They eat like champs. Really. Oh, and to top it off, super docile. I've never had one strike or anything.
I don't think I've ever seen any pictures of any of them acting defensive or anything.
No, super chill, and like they are so easy to keep. Like there's nothing tricky to them at all. They're very straightforward. Awesome. And what you don't see if you do like a deep dive online into some of the scientific papers and whatnot.
Yeah.
They get pretty fucking big.
Yeah. They do.
They get like definitely a solid 6-7 foot, probably like, almost ping pong ball size around.
That's where it's at.
That's badass.
Yeah, they're awesome. I mean, I've seen pictures of them eating like juvenile green iguanas.
Oh, man.
So cool.
So cool. So cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking intense, dude.
I saw you going down that road, and I was like, please tell me he's going to talk about those things. I was like,
they are really awesome snakes. I usually get like at least one a year, and they always do really well. I've sold a bunch of them because, again, I've only ended up getting females, so I don't want to just hoard a whole group of females. I'll spread the enjoyment a little bit. But yeah, they're really neat. And fun fact, the babies hatch with like a partial white stripe on the head.
Ooh,
that's so cool.
That's cool.
It's almost like, have you seen like the baby sunbeams? How they have the white
got the ring.
Yeah. Kind of similar idea to that.
Interesting. That's really cool though.
And from the very similar niche in the wild, I also have the cat snakes, Leptodera annulata.
Hell yeah.
Super cool.
Again, super underrated, man. I remember those used to come in super cheap, like, I don't know, 15 years ago. And, like, it just, again, like, they just got passed by the wayside because of other species. But, man, again, super easy. Not quite as hardy as the Cyphlophus, but once you get them going, they're bulletproof. And a lot of this stuff, like I was saying, would be a great addition to the industry because just like how crested geckos took off, for the fact that they don't need all this additional heat and light and everything. These are just the same, and you can go crazy with an awesome planted setup, and they'll use every inch of it.
I just picture a Cyphlophus in like this like 4 foot by 3 foot by 4 foot enclosure with like a water feature at the bottom and like fully planted. Ugh.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
That's a dream. That's a fucking dream
dig
right
that.
there. Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have a big love for colubrids. You work with like the 100-flower snakes and
Yeah.
the Cyphlophus and all this different stuff. The Cyphlophus are definitely at the top. What do you think of the like 100 flowers? How are they working out for you?
So this is my first year pairing them. My female is going to be laying shortly. I forgot to mark her last shed, but she's definitely gravid.
Nice.
So I raised her up from a fresh hatched import. I guess captive hatched if you want to call it, but
Yep.
Hadn't shed or anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
That was 5 years ago. She's now 6 foot eating
Giant.
medium rat. Again, that thing has never seen additional heat in her life.
Mhm.
Never.
Wow.
They are like, for me, they're like a real, true rat snake. Like
Hell yeah.
like powerful constrictors. But man, there's something more going on upstairs than say a corn snake or a black rat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard
really
that
is.
from a couple of other people that keep them. Like there's something to watch about them.
Yeah, I have mine just in tubs without heat or anything, just stacked, on top of racks. And I walk down into the basement and they perk right up and they're looking, checking out what's going on. And it's not like a feed. It's not a feed response. They're curious as to
legitimately
what's
curious.
going on.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you keep all these species, these cooler temp species. You could, I guess you would say, without extra heat. So what's your ambient room temp
So for that stuff that I don't keep additional heat on, I would say a safe number to throw out would be winter ambience, anywhere between 60 to 68, and summer ambience being anywhere between 80 to 88, and anywhere in between. But for the most part, your far end of winter and your far end of summer are pretty stable at those numbers.
That's interesting. So they definitely get like a full cycle, like noticeable temperature cycle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And once I put them basically into a breeding regimen, that's when I'll actually brumate the adults.
Mm-hmm.
And those again, I don't do exact temperatures. As simple as it may sound, I just put them in sweater boxes and put them in the garage. And depending what species it is, that depends whether they go on the bottom of the stack near the floor or the top of the stack off the floor a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll kind of juggle a little bit. So to give you an idea, the Mollendorfi, I'll be honest, I really don't have much data to support my theory here, but I feel that they need some pretty cold brumation temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
So I put them directly on the floor of my garage. So they're sitting, I would say they probably experienced a low temp of probably 40 degrees.
Wow.
100%.
And I would say they sat the whole winter anywhere between 40 and 50, 52, something like that.
Wow.
Yep. I've heard that from
So-
a couple different people that they can go way, way cold. If you know Alan Both from Major League,
Yeah,
he works
absolutely.
with Moldorfi, and I always, every time I talk to him, I got to pick his brain a little bit more about them because he seems to be doing really, really well with them.
Yep. He's been producing them for a while now. Yeah.
They're definitely a cool,
Such a
cool
underrated
freaking
snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're super impressive to hold, especially when they reach those big sizes.
yeah.
They're strong. They're fucking green, which is awesome.
Yep. Oh yeah.
With that red
and then
head.
Yeah, that big red head. It's like the head is really reminiscent for me of a retic.
I can see that. Kind
Yeah,
of like coffin shaped
100%.
almost.
Yep.
Yeah, the shape and just how they're looking at you and stuff. They're definitely cool.
That is awesome.
But I just to touch back on the brumation. So like I mentioned, I'll put them on the bottom of the stack directly on the floor.
Yep.
And then usually I'll do like corn snakes and stuff pretty cold too. So those might be like second or so. And then like towards the top and the middle, I'll do like hognose, and I have the royal diadems, the atriceps.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. Hell yeah.
So those, I've heard some horror stories from some people in Europe that killed them during brumation. I've got them pretty damn cold, and I've had really, knock on wood, I've had some really good success with them. So I just am going to keep doing what I'm doing, of course.
Yep.
A theory I have, though, is they have a really large range. So I personally believe I have Pakistani locale. Like, obviously, Pakistan's a huge country, so I couldn't tell you where.
Exactly
I'm
where,
sure the habitat varies quite a bit. But
Yeah.
I believe I have Pakistan origin animals. And there's also, in Europe, I've seen stuff that looks more like Indian origin animals, which tend to be higher black, and I think come from a little bit of a cooler area than, say, southern Pakistan or something. So I think maybe certain locales can maybe tolerate colder temperatures than others, and I think that might be why I'm having different experience from some of the other Europeans that are losing animals in brumation. But I will say, I wish I had the Indian animals, because they're like super high black and like crazy reds and stuff. They're
I remember those coming in and them being like $100, and I was like, man, that's a cool looking snake. But
no one wanted them.
Yeah, no one wanted them.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I had known.
Yeah.
They're another one, man. So I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit. I'm basically hoarding those.
Yes.
They 100% deserve their place back in the hobby. They are awesome snakes.
Hell yeah.
The babies come out eating fuzzies right out of the egg.
Damn.
Yes.
They grow super quick. Again, they're really tolerant of high temperatures, and obviously they brumate, so they can take low temperatures. They eat like beasts. They're big and bulky. The ontogenic color change is so cool. And I kind of been I'll find out more. I have a clutch hatching, I think, in a week, so I'll find out some more this year. But there seems to be two phenotypes, which I guess I would compare it to how you have yellow and red chondros.
Yeah.
So there's ones that hatch more orange based with thinner saddles, and those tend to be lower black as adult. Again, this is theory that I'm hoping to learn more about this year. And then the other phenotype would be a more textbook saddled rat snake, baby rat snake per se, like a brownish, tannish. And those, I think, develop into your more higher black animals.
Interesting.
At first, I thought it was a sex-linked thing. And I was like freaking out, like, oh my God, the males, this explains why my male looks like this. But no, I got males and females of both phenotype. So I'm curious to see if there is that connection between the amount of black as they mature.
That'd be pretty interesting.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, just something I picked up on. And that's also another species I really do want to go bioactive, so to speak, with, just to get another angle of their behavior. Because I think they'd be really interesting to like observe in a more natural setup.
Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah.
All my coach whips. Sorry, I'm referring to the Sonoran coach whips.
Yeah.
Singulum. Those I do keep. I don't keep them bioactive per se, but those I do keep in cages with lights.
Yeah.
Those need some intense heat and light. Intense.
Yeah, for sure.
In fact, to the point, I keep them in a different room that gets hot. I'm talking right now, that room is probably 88 degrees, and they have like a 150-degree basking spot.
And
so
they're about it.
Yeah, they're all about it. If it even dips like, oh man, if they drop in temperature by like a few degrees, like I would say less than 10 degrees, they automatically go off feed.
Wow.
They need some intense heat and light.
That's
in
interesting.
fact, I had moved them into a different room this past, what was it? I guess early winter. And I made sure that both rooms were pretty similar in temperature before I made the move because I didn't want to mess up their cycle.
Yeah.
And I think it was off by literally 3, 4, 5 degrees. And sure enough, they cycled way out of pattern. And I'm pretty sure I missed their window this year.
Damn.
Just because when I moved them, I think they ended up cycling in I don't even know, end of January, February. Just based off that few degree drops. That was their winter, and then once it warmed back up in the new room, there's their spring, and they cycled.
Damn.
Wow.
The only reason I didn't pair them when I saw all their cues was because they had laid their eggs late last year. So I was like, man, they laid 4 months ago or whatever. They can't be cycling again,
Yeah, yeah.
So,
hey, better to play it safe than sorry in that aspect,
yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. Absolutely.
But that's crazy that they can that such a minute difference in their temperature could send them through literally a whole biological clock.
Change.
Absolutely.
Change. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure. I mean, they're not equatorial, but they're damn close to it. So, granted, your winter nights are going to get cold and stuff, but it's still hot as fuck during the day, almost year round.
Yeah.
Them,
Yeah, for sure.
So I could definitely see how, consistent, meaning day and night, slight temperature drop is enough to trigger that seasonal change in them,
Yeah. Damn.
But yeah, those are cool. I will say the babies are tough to get started. They definitely want to eat lizards. There's no question. I think you can definitely get past that somewhat a few generations in. But I will say, if you give them all the lizards they want, eventually when they put a little size on them, they're ready to take on pinkies. And
that's cool.
They're very calculated in their meals, in their prey. Even my male is big. He's, I don't even know, 7 foot or something. And they won't take large meals. You can't stretch them. They're just, I don't know. It's like they don't have the confidence or the care to tackle big meals.
That's interesting.
I mean,
you
gotta figure from a standpoint in the wild, they're probably not trying to take down. They're not like your standard constrictor where they're just gonna go for this big thing and then they don't need to eat. They're an active forager. They're gonna look for all little things that they can overpower pretty easily, and then keep it moving.
That's well said. I kind of see them as like a grazer almost, cruising around like, oh, there's a little lizard. Let me swallow that in 2 seconds and just keep it moving. Exactly.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yep. Damn.
Absolutely.
Coach whips are cool.
Definitely cool, for sure. Those I definitely, I really don't say this often, but I will almost call them a little difficult based on their needs, based on their habits. Definitely not for a first-time keeper.
100%. But jumping from those, you also keep things like blue tongues, like the patternless blue tongues.
Yes.
And
so it's funny you segued there because I actually have the blue tongues and the coach whips in the same room.
Boom!
Perfect. We just know we've been doing that. Look, we've been doing this a long time.
That was good, man. That was good. Yeah, man, those are definitely a labor of love. I'll start by saying that.
Yeah.
They're in quantity. They're a lot of work to blue tongues. They make a fucking mess.
Yup.
I think I've personally never worked with the Australian species. I just do some of the Indo species. But I kind of envy the guys breeding northerns and whatnot because you just keep them dry and feed them dry food and all la-di-da, whereas these Indos, they need I would call a moderate to high level of humidity, some even very high, being the Halmaheras. Those are a new level of humidity requirement. So high humidity to the point they almost enjoy it, like swampy. That with a large poop does not mix good.
Not at all.
So they can be challenging, but within the first generation, they lose that humidity requirement.
That's
So,
interesting.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm not saying you can keep them dry, like say a northern, because if you do that, they'll develop like these like weird, kind of almost like a keeled scale, like the scale does not develop right or something. But whereas a wild caught import will need it super high humidity, like I'm talking 90% or something.
Wow. Yeah.
Your first generation captive, assuming you don't keep them that way from day one, is, I don't know, probably only going to require like 40, 50, 60%.
Wow, that's quite the drop.
That is a huge drop.
And it is so apparent. Like I can have, I custom built this ginormous monstrosity of a rack for all my blue tongues. It literally, I built it into the room and it will never move ever.
I've had plenty of those over the years.
Yes,
You're staying put.
I'm sure you can guess what material it was made out of.
Oh yeah, begins with an M and ends with a
Elamine.
fuck.
That's exactly right. That melamine, man. Exactly. But yeah, like I can have in the same rack a long-term captive, that I've bred and had for a long time, right next in the tub next to first generation, and that import will still have shedding issues every time, whereas the first generation animal will not be kept humid at all, and have no shedding issues at all, like perfect sheds.
Wow.
So it's like things like that I'm definitely looking forward to progressing more with it, just as far as making it easier to keep them for other people,
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the patternless stuff is pretty cool. I really enjoy them. I held back a lot last year so I can do some more breeding trials. I basically proposed the project as it being a dominant gene, because I've bred a wild-caught original patternless male to multiple unrelated wild-caught females and got first-generation patternless. But because I've gotten everything in between, from reduced pattern to kind of broken up pattern, there's still some work to be done to see how it works exactly, of course. But with that line of patternless, there's one trait that other imports I've seen do not have, and that is a striped tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I remember that getting mentioned.
So I believe that's like the genetic marker, so to speak. So particular animals I have that are reduced pattern, if you want to call that, they still have the full striped tail, and I believe, again, I'll find out for sure next season, meaning October. I believe those striped tail animals that may be reduced pattern will produce fully patternless offspring as well.
That would be interesting.
That would be super interesting, yeah.
That's my theory. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I got a lot of pairings of like different combinations, like reduced pattern to reduced pattern, or reduced pattern to unrelated wild caught normal, patternless to patternless, patternless to reduced pattern. I'm trying to do every combination of every variance just so I can really check everything off and say for sure what exactly is going on with the genetics,
Hell yeah, dude. That's a super exciting project, because when it comes to blue tongues, like, we get the shit end of the stick when it comes to morphs and super cool things, so.
Definitely. And so my patternless stuff is pure what I call market Maruki. So they're being sold as Marukis. I'll be the first person to tell you I don't think they're all the same thing, but I'll select them for the look that people like to call the locale Maruki. So I'm going with that. That's a whole nother topic. Locales. But so those are pure Maruki. I have pure Axanthic Halmaheras. And then I have one, I'm sure you guys may have seen it, I have a male albino Halmahera.
Yes.
So I'm trying to make double het snows.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
with the pure helms. But man, those things are challenging. Like I was mentioning before, they need an incredible level of humidity. And I'm not saying that's the limiting factor to my success. There's a bunch of reasons, but they are challenging. But I would like to get those off the ground. The male albino, like most first generation albino stuff, is basically blind, completely blind. He's old at this point too. He's probably, I don't know, over 10 years old. Wow. he's got full blown cataracts in both eyes. And unfortunately, blue tongues require them to bite onto the female in order to mate. And since he's blind, he can't quite do that. And he's basically he's killed a couple females from just biting in the wrong places and stuff. And never got the job done. But I'm keep trying, you know.
Yeah.
So
damn. Yeah.
That's gotta be heartbreaking. Like,
yeah.
You're like, I want this one guy to go. Just do it.
I'm like, all I need is one fucking litter of babies from him. That's it. It's all I need is one baby. You know, I'll take one head.
Yeah.
Fucking male, female, I don't care. I'll go the long route and produce possets again.
Yeah.
You know. But so that's the goal with them. So yeah, lots of blue tongues in the next season's forecast.
Damn,
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
So do you babysit with them when you pair them? Do you just kind of like let them do their thing?
So I'll pair them up, and literally the male either goes instantly right into action or he doesn't. And if he does, they're pretty quick. They mate right away, and I would say the whole process is like 5 minutes. And then I separate them right out. And little breeder trick, I'll go for 5 consecutive days of pairings with complete locks. And once I see that 5 consecutive days of locks, I pretty much know the job is done. There's a great chance the female's gonna go the distance.
Nice.
That's cool.
And usually around that fifth day of locks, the male will pretty much just start to ignore her, and that's that.
He's like, I've already hit that.
Yeah. It's almost as if there's some kind of pheromone or something that a gravid female puts off, or an ovulating female.
Just be like, hey,
I'm done. Like you guys can move it on because there's nothing you're gonna do with me this year.
Yeah.
You know, like I've definitely seen like I'm all over the place here, but in boas particularly, when the female's close to ovulating or currently ovulating, the male will actually move away from locking, of course, right? The job's done.
Yeah.
But he'll sit on top of her as if to keep other males away. The job's done. That's it. And then once the full-blown ovulation's over, then they part ways, you know?
That's interesting, yeah.
And definitely, and I actually got that tidbit from a buddy of mine. You guys know Mike Kostakos.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
And sure enough, like when he had mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, I see that shit all the time. Like now it makes sense, you know? Now it makes sense. In fact, that's usually something I'll cue into and look for, you know?
Yeah.
Is how the male, even if they're not locking, how the male is in relation to the female.
Yeah, picking up on those really minute behavioral differences.
Yeah.
Can sometimes give you a world of information that, you know, to the common keeper's eye would just be like, oh, that's cute.
It goes totally unnoticed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep, absolutely. Those are like those little tidbits are like really what I enjoy out of all this stuff, is like just stuff that normally gets unnoticed or unspoken about is just like kind of interesting to me.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, one of the things, this doesn't really play into captive snakes, but one thing that I saw in some wild snakes, I love field herping, and I know you love field herping too.
Hell yeah.
But I found copperheads, and a couple years in a row I've found litters of baby copperheads, and a lot of the times, almost every time, before the babies have their first shed, they'll actually sit almost right on the mother. They'll sit right in the same area with the mother, not more than a foot away from wherever she's hanging out at. And then as soon as they have their first shed, then all of them leave the area.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's super weird. And the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's weird. They're just kind of hanging out. Maybe she just had them. And then I noticed that they were in opaque. And I was like, okay, if they're in opaque, she didn't just have them today. It must have been a couple days ago. And then I come back a couple days later, there's little sheds everywhere and no snakes.
And they're gone, exactly. Yep. That's cool stuff, man. Really cool. I haven't done much herping lately. I really need to get out some more. But man, it's good. That's good stuff. There's nothing like seeing stuff like that in the wild.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Just every time that you see your like target species or something you don't see all the time, I get unreasonably hyped. I get so excited.
Definitely, man.
Oh my
awesome,
god.
dude.
A couple weeks ago we were out and we were looking for stuff, and I go to move this rock and it had rained the night before. So I'm like thinking snakes. I'm like, snakes are gonna be out, they're gonna be looking for toads, looking for frogs. I'm like all geeked up. I'm looking around. We had already found some snakes, but I was going to flip this rock and I moved some leaves from the edge of the rock, and there was a marbled salamander sitting there, and I was like, oh, holy shit, fuck, oh my, I'm jumping all over the place. Kids are like, what are you okay? And I'm like, the goddamn marbled salamander, look at it, oh my god.
Oh, that's too cool, man. That's awesome.
Because they're so rare up here. You just never ever see them. Like in New England, it's so hard to find marble salamanders. Yeah. This is probably only the like fourth one I've ever found. And I was just like sweet. Over the moon. I was so excited.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's really, really cool. That is really cool.
Are there what do you go usually field herping for? What's your favorite thing to go find?
Well, so I got my start with field herping with Dave Prada.
Yeah.
And he was heavy into the timbers. So that was usually the goal. But lately, more in the last few years, I've gotten a near semi-local hognose spot.
Ooh,
that's cool.
So I enjoy going looking for them because they're really, I won't say they're rare here. There's a lot of them, but man, they're hard to find because of their life patterns. You know, they're not easy to find here.
100%.
So I really enjoy seeing them lately.
Hell yeah, dude.
Then, I like it all. Again, like shit. If I find a fucking snapping turtle on the road, that makes my day. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it all, man. The timbers though are impressive.
Yeah.
Those are. I'll never forget seeing my first one of those. Actually, I'll make it quick. There's a funny story of my first timber. Me and Dave were out. I believe it was like we were going down a really long power line. It was a hell of a hike. I was fucking beat. I was like exhausted, like trying to keep up with him, which he was going really often at the time, so he was like in great shape. But I was dragging ass, and while at one point, like it was a pretty slow day because it was really hot out, and there wasn't much other than a random racer here and there scurrying around.
Yeah.
And as we're hiking, he's telling me how we're coming up on a spot where he found his first timber. And it was basically like, I'm not sure the word you'd use, like the foundation of the power lines, like those huge concrete slabs.
Yeah.
Like kind of in the middle of fucking nowhere, you know? And,
of course.
So he's like, oh yeah, that one up ahead, that's where I found my first one. And sure enough, we get up on the spot, and there in the same spot where he had mentioned, there's a big old timber. And that was my first timber I ever found. And when we compared the pictures of that being my first to the picture he had taken of finding his first there as well, it was the same exact snake, like almost 20 years apart.
That's fucking
amazing.
awesome.
How cool is that?
That is so damn cool.
And we literally both, I lost my photo at this point, but he still has his, and literally it was the same snake in the exact same spot almost 20 years later.
Wow.
Damn.
That was really cool. Both of our first timbers.
That's amazing.
Hell yeah, dude. That's a story, dude.
That is.
100%.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Hell
for sure.
yeah.
But it just goes to show, like, when people go out there and they disturb habitats and move things around, they're disturbing this habitat of this animal that might have been using it for 20 or 30 or 40 years, where it's got certain spots where they like to hang out. And if you're stacking rocks and doing all this crap, you could theoretically be ruining this habitat for this animal that's been coming there for longer than I've been alive. You know, I'm just saying.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
No, it's so
Absolutely.
true.
I definitely need to get out and do some more herping though, for sure.
Fuck
Hell yeah. While we're on the topic, man, I had gotten tagged in a Facebook post from a college professor who lived nearby my hometown, and 2 days in a row, after I found this out after sending her a private message, 2 days in a row she came across a copperhead right on the trail that she was jogging on. She's like, look, identical to me, but she only got pictures of one day. And so there was this whole debate, because she's not a reptile person at all. She didn't know what it was. She posted the picture and was asking people for help. So somebody tagged me in it, and I was like, oh, it's a copperhead. That's awesome. And I know that there's a small population that existed in that area. And then somebody in the comment section posted a photo of a timber that they saw going across a road, and I hit him up and I was like, where did you find that? Because I looked at his profile and I was like, oh, he lives in the same area, so maybe he happened to be in that same general area, because there's also a timber den and small population in that area. And he was like, no, dude, it was crossing the street in town. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I live over here. And I was like, I know there's supposed to be a population over there, but I hadn't seen any in years. And here you are, basically just like sitting on your porch, and you're like, what's that rope in the road?
That's a
well, it's not like, another rattlesnake.
Yeah, I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Oh, man, that's funny. That's funny.
The herping stories, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's cool to find it
absolutely.
when you want them, but then you always hate the guy that finds them when they're not even trying to find them.
They're just like, oh, I found this weird thing here, and do you know what it is? And I'm like, ah!
Yeah, I've spent my whole life looking for one of those. God damn it.
Absolutely.
Literally happened to me last summer. This campground that I used to do educational programs at, that was like 5 minutes from my house. The woman who runs it, it's part of the Appalachian Mountain Club campground like thing, and every now and again she'll send me pictures of the water snakes out there, because she knows that I would love going down and seeing the water snakes and the turtles and all this stuff. And she sends my mom a picture of a salamander. She's like, I think someone let go of their like pet salamander. I've never seen one of these things here before. And she's been doing this for like 40 years, where she's been managing this campground. And my mom texted me the picture. She's like, I don't know what it is, so can you tell me what it is? Boom, marbled salamander right out there. And I was like, you gotta report it to Fish and Game. You gotta tell somebody, because they'll help protect that land. So if anyone tries to develop the land near there, you can get some help for protecting it.
Yep.
And I was just like super geeked. I called her immediately. I was like, where did you find that? You gotta section off that area. Don't let anyone go over there. Don't let anyone touch it.
That's how I felt.
Awesome.
That's how I felt. My cousin hit me up a couple of years ago, and she was like, "Hey, my friend found these snakes under her trash can. She's not sure what they are. Can you tell me what they are?" And sends me a picture, and it's 3 eastern hognoses under the trash can. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
That's awesome.
She was like,
awesome.
"Is this a good thing or a bad thing?" I was like, "It's an amazing thing, but don't touch them.
Yeah, leave them
Just
alone."
leave them be."
That's pretty cool.
Oh man.
I moved recently, and my new place, I have a resident population of garters.
Cool.
That are like living in like my walkway, and I'm like enjoying every minute of that. I wake up to like garters basking on my walkway.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
So that's been pretty cool, you know.
I wonder, is that a requirement you put in on the Zillow search? It's like, must have snakes already on property.
Yeah, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
You know what's funny? I was like thinking
snakes.
like, what'd you say?
It's got to have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a group of snakes that live in the area.
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. It's funny because a couple buddies of mine, a buddy of mine, he lives in the Bronx, and in his backyard, he has a population of DKs.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, it's so, being in the Bronx, you know, you wouldn't expect a healthy, thriving population of snakes in someone's backyard.
Seriously.
Right.
And then Costacos has a population of the Italian wall lizards in his front yard.
What?
That's dope.
So I'm like, oh man, I joined the crew now. I got reptiles in my yard.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Dude, that's so awesome.
All we got are
amongst
chickens.
Yeah. Fucking
Chickens, yeah. Well, that's why you don't have reptiles.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Those little mini dinos are clearing them out.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Ooh.
Terrible.
Oh man.
Oh shit.
So what do you guys got going on this season? How's your seasons going?
Rob's had a way better season than I have. So my season got like totally thrown out of whack because when I moved up to New Hampshire, I moved my snake room into one part of the house and then had to move it to a different part of the house. But it was already after I'd gotten everything kind of dialed in. I'd already started pairing up stuff. And when I moved everything into the room that they're in now, the temperatures were a lot harder to kind of dial in. So it took me forever to kind of get them back in a space where I could finish cycling them. And
Right.
it threw me all out of whack. Pretty much every carpet that I had breeding either reabsorbed or threw slugs. And then out of the 10 ball pythons I paired up, I only had 2 that went. So it was a really shitty year, but now I finally got it all dialed in, so this fall will be
Cool.
a much better thing. But Rob, on the other hand, is fucking crushing it and making me hate myself.
Almost everything I paired this season went.
Yeah.
The only
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Those are the best seasons, of course.
I was not expecting it. I was expecting like half of it to go, and then everybody started going and going and going, and I
Oh,
was like,
nice.
oh man, I'm gonna have so many babies. The only thing that's throwing me off this season is my scrub python, and she locked up. We ultrasounded her. She had 40 millimeter follicles, all this stuff. She's sitting good, acting like she's pregnant. Everything's good. And then she just had a shed that I thought might be a prelay shed. And then she was like sitting there and we were feeding stuff. And I was like, oh, I'll offer her a rat because she's been refusing food for the last 2 months. And I was like, I'll just see if she wants a rat. Offered it to her, slammed it. And I was like, okay, what the fuck's going on now? I don't know what's happening. And, yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing that didn't go, but I had 3 clutches of Borneo short-tailed pythons, I had a clutch of carpet Erie West Papuan carpet pythons, and all those things came out like amazing, and I'm super stoked with how all that stuff went. So I don't know.
Good stuff.
I haven't really posted about them online because I don't want people to bother me about buying them.
So that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah, it's been good. How's your season going?
I can actually relate more to Jeremy on that one.
Yeah, I'm not alone. Woo!
It's definitely an off year for me. Lots of fucking slugs.
Yeah.
This winter was weird, man. Super weird.
Yeah, it was.
It
was.
definitely was, yeah.
Here in southern New York, we literally got no snow this year.
Yeah, we got hardly
That must
any.
have been nice.
We had shit. I'm not complaining. I hate the fucking winter.
Yeah.
But we had like a total of like 3 inches the entire year.
Oh wow.
Which is bizarre. We
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I don't necessarily point fingers as far as what could have changed that, but it was just a real off season for me. I still have some stuff coming that I'm looking forward to, but like Jeremy was saying, I'm already looking ahead to next season. I got some new stuff that I'm really excited to pair up that I haven't done in the past. So yeah, I'm just excited for next season. I have some stuff still coming this year that are new to me that are going to be interesting. So
cool.
So yeah, I mean, this season definitely has some highlights, but not as good as I have in the past. But I'm okay with that. That just to me, when you have an off season, that means next year your animals are primed and ready to go.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
I really feel bad. I was listening to one of the reptile podcasts. I don't remember which one. I don't really sit down and listen to stuff religiously. It's just when I have a few moments, I'll like click something and listen for a few moments. So I don't remember which podcast it was. I don't even remember what guest was saying it. So if you're listening to this, I apologize for not remembering, but this is me giving you credit. Someone said the most important aspect to breeding X species is I'm going to paraphrase, you have to get them onto a cycle. And I think, and I completely agree that if you can establish some sort of cycle, I don't care what months and what temperatures, but if you have a repeating pattern and I'll go as far as saying some animals it takes up to 5 years, anywhere between 2 to 5 years, depending on the species. Obviously, there's some that will go right off the bat. You can reset them, so to speak, quicker.
Yeah.
If you establish a cycle, you can breed any species. And there's certain things that are going to work for certain species. Some might react to food cycles. Some might react to temperature cycles. I don't like to say humidity cycles because that, in my opinion, that correlates to rainfall in a said area, which directly translates to cooler temperatures. Yeah. Right? When something's wet and getting rained on, they're cold, or colder, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think it's obviously we're not talking about frogs or something, but I don't think it's rainfall that's triggering something. I think that is what triggers the temperature change. But regardless, I think if you can get something on a repeated pattern, I won't even go as far as calling it a cycle, a repeated pattern for a consistent amount of time, you'll breed anything.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, dude.
It's the constant changing, in my opinion, that throws these animals off and gives them a reputation of being hard to breed. I see with Boland's pythons nowadays that we have a lot of really good dedicated guys keeping them for a long amount of time. I can definitely relate to the frustration every year that goes by without success, but I think troubleshooting is hurting the progression rather than just sticking with one game plan.
Yeah.
And I think if even if conditions aren't even ideal, so to speak, just the consistency gets them on a cycle and is enough to push them into reproduction,
Yeah. No, I think that's spot on, dude. 100%.
So whoever said the key is getting them onto a cycle, I forgot who you are, but credit is due to you.
Facts.
100%. And I think that definitely plays in the Boland's community. It plays in the scrub community. A lot of people get the scrubs and then they go 1 or 2 years where they're trying to breed them and they don't produce anything and they just get rid of them. And now the next person has to start that cycle all over again.
Exactly.
And it's setting the timer back every time that you have to do that, every time that you do that. I honestly think that's what kind of messed up my year this year, because I had my girl set up on a certain way of doing things, and then I got encouraged to move her from one area of the building to a different area of the building, and I think that might have thrown things out of whack. And
sure.
Because she was doing all the right stuff, and then now I don't know if she's going to go, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, that can definitely disrupt things, in my opinion. I mean, even within, like you were saying, even within one in the same building, each room can really be so different, as far as air pressure and temperature and stuff like that.
100%.
I think plays a huge role.
100%.
Absolutely.
Hell
so,
yeah, dude.
You work with Komodo, and then you started up a reptile finder to help people kind of find unusual things that they've been looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been with Dave Prada at Komodo for about 15 years now. It's been a hell of a journey. The rodent and feeder business is a crazy business. Lots of ups and downs.
Yeah.
But I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But definitely, I kind of keep it separated between the feeder side of things and the reptile side of things, and that's where I decided to start Reptile Finder, because I noticed there was so much interest. And I don't know, maybe the last 5 years, or not even, maybe the last 3 years, where people are really branching out away from your pet store staples, and appreciating all these different species that are now available.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just enjoy like putting cool animals in appreciative people's hands.
Hell yeah.
Yep. 100%, dude.
You know, and yeah, so that's how that came about. But yeah, Komodo is cool. I actually really enjoy working with the rodents and that kind of stuff. I'm not so hands-on anymore, which is okay. I've really fucking had my fill of rodents, but but actually it's funny. Recently, I've been messing with our African soft fur colony lately, and I've been selecting for solid white.
Cool.
So I've got some. It's actually not new. I did a little deep dive online. There's been quite a few people that have gone like the distance with like African soft fur genetics. Just like how you have all these established colors with regular rats, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been people that have done it with soft furs, so it's nothing new, but new to me. And yeah, so I've got a lot of soft furs now that are almost identical to a mouse, just solid white.
That's crazy.
With red eyes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's been a little pet project lately.
Cool.
Yeah, there's lots of just like with reptiles, there's a lot of nuance when it comes to keeping them successfully long term, and the same can definitely be said with the rodents. A lot of people that are not in the know think, oh yeah, you know, it's like the saying goes, they breed like mice, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
It is not that easy. It is far from easy, and a lot goes into it, from temperature to nutrition to you know, socialization. Like, you know, family groups are extremely important when it comes to breeding mice. So there's a lot of different aspects with the rodents and stuff like that you don't get with reptiles, and there's a lot of crossover as well. And I like it all. Like, at the end of the day, I'm an animal person, you know.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
So we're coming down to the end of our time here. We got one question before we wrap things up. And it can be in your collection, it can be in a different collection, it can be or in the realm of reptiles. What's something right now that has got you excited, or something that you're really looking forward to see more of?
All right, so this is actually pretty easy for me to decide. And I seen they were available, I don't know, maybe a year ago. I'm sure you guys saw them, and now I'm seeing people raise them up. They're in the right hands, and I've seen actually a picture today or yesterday of them locked up. Oh man, what are they called? The common Crocodilurus amazonicus. What's the common on those? The caiman tegus, lizards.
Oh yeah.
What the hell are
Oh yeah.
they? Not caiman lizards. The what are they? Not crocodile lizards. Crocodile tegu. Is that what they call them?
Yeah, I think that's the common name of them.
Crocodile tegu, yeah, the Crocodilurus. Those are badass to me. It's like an aquatic tegu.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I remember, like, way back when I first got serious with reptiles, there was a vendor on King Snake. It might have been DTS Herp, Dan Scalaro.
Yeah.
He had a lone male for a long time, and I remember just like seeing it sit on King Snake, and I was just like, wow, that thing is so cool. And now finally, with people producing literally a handful of them, it looks like they made their way into the right hands, and I'm really looking forward to seeing those get a semi-established at least. I'd love to work with those one day.
Hell
yeah, dude.
So if people want to find out more about you and the things that you're doing, where would be the best place to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook would be your best bet. You can hit me up, Adam G. Feel free to drop me a message. I'm always down to talk cool herps. And yeah, Facebook's the place for me.
Hell yeah.
And I'd love to chat. And I really appreciate you guys having me on tonight. This was fun.
Hell yeah. Thanks for
we
jumping
have
on.
Absolutely, guys.
All right,
man.
dude.
Take care.
We'll
Have a
talk
nice
to you
night.
soon.
All right, fellas. Have a good night, and thanks for listening to me ramble for a while.
Hell yeah, dude.
All right, fellas.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Good night.